And we're live. Hey guys, welcome to Whiskey Charlie, a special edition here for the Armchair Dragoons virtual assembly this weekend, our online virtual convention. And joining me tonight is Brent from the Armchair Dragoons. Welcome again to the broadcast here, Brent. It's great having you on.
Yeah, thank you very much for letting me come back for a second round and crash the show again. So thank you.
Well, you didn't do too bad a job last night, so I figured we'll have you on again. So, and here we got pruning his eyebrows is our guest of honor tonight, Uwe Eickert from Academy Games. He's getting himself all beautiful, the handsome man that he is. He's all ready for the audience tonight, and really tired after running 2 nights of convention events already, and doing a great job with it. Thanks for coming on, Uwe.
I really appreciate you guys having us.
Well, it's been great having you, and I know Brant wants to give a big shout out, as do I, which I'll defer to Brant though on that for your support of the convention.
Yeah, so when we all started this, pulling this thing together, barely 6 weeks ago, Uwe was one of the first folks I called and said, hey, look, we got this crazy idea. Are you interested? And as I'm in the middle of composing the message to Uwe, I realized, oh crap, man, that's Gen Con weekend, and figured Academy was going to be totally buried under Gen Con stuff. And Uwe's reply was near instantaneous. Holy cow, heck yes, we'd love to work with you guys. Even if it's Gen Con, we appreciate you asking us. And so Uwe's always been a big supporter of us at Origins. We're not part of his demo crew there because he's got an entire booth the size of what we do supporting 7 companies he's got just to himself, which is great. We love seeing wargame companies being that successful. So that's fantastic. But Uwe's always there to help support us with some of the prize stuff that we do, and taking some time to talk to our folks when we're at Origins for part of the media coverage.
Can I bring my wife in here so she can see what she needs to be saying here a little more? Hey, Kari. Can you hear what Brant's saying here? Can you take the tunnel?
Your own thing.
Well, we're on a video broadcast.
Except your voice.
He's saying some very nice things. So anyway, go on, Brant.
Kari, he pays us really well.
Yeah. But reaching out to Uwe, figuring, there's no chance we're going to get him on Gen Con weekend. He couldn't jump at this fast enough, and that was awesome. And so having Academy Games on board as an official event sponsor, and you guys running some of the stuff, and then not just, hey, we've got Academy Games stuff being played, but we're showcasing a pre-release that we're getting back around to one of the systems that wargamers love the most. That was just awesome. And so I just wanted to take a moment before Mo kicked in with the interview stuff and going to be talking about the new games and things, just to say a heartfelt thanks on behalf of the Dragoons for jumping in and participating here and joining the fun. And I hope it's been a good time for the players. I hope you guys have had a good time and not gotten too burned out, and just a big, fat, wet, sloppy thank you.
I appreciate it. You know what? It's been so much fun. It's the first time we've used Tabletopia, and they've kind of changed their program where we can go in and set up different missions and just pay a monthly fee as a publisher. And then we can bring in just exclusive, not making open to public, but bring in people who want to play our upcoming games. And that's been really cool. Gunta and Jim and James right now are running games in Gen Con with our One Small Step and other ones. Mm-hmm. And then Jim was this morning helping me with this. It seems like a lot of work, but then you compare it to the real life conventions. I'm actually really enjoying this season. I miss meeting the people, but now having to have, prepared for 2 weeks, driven out to the big conventions, setting up the conventions, working our butts off every day, all day, little sleep, meeting so many cool people and all. But today and yesterday, I've met so many really cool people that we've made engagements now to get together in the future and just talk. And it's really, really been such a treat. And the people who've been part of the Virtual Dragoon, wargaming is really taking on a much more mainstream feel, because I remember when I first got into it when I was younger, was all these older guys who could hardly move, and they were just for themselves, and they wanted to kill everybody else. And They weren't that socially adept.
Stop talking about me, Uva. I don't like that. I'm right here, man.
I never mentioned names. Mo. Remember that. But it's in Mo, I would never say bad things about you. You know, a guy who's token there in the background the whole time.
Yeah, vape.
Yeah.
But you know what? The people, you know, it's become such a much more social, interactive hobby, I think.
Yeah.
And people are just so nice to get along with. And even when they're going head to head, and you know, someone made a mistake. Hey, yeah, no, you can do this and this and this. I really think that the hobby is really evolving, and you know, it's expanding like crazy. War games, I think, are expanding like crazy from the standpoint of how many people are playing, and even the access with the internet and getting people to see what's going on. You know, you're getting all the military veterans who are playing, then you just regular gamers, and a lot of young people now are becoming much more aware of history because of the internet and everything.
Yeah,
Very true.
Yeah.
Well,
I've been happy with what's happened so far for the last day and a half. Folks seem to be having a good time. We've had folks in almost all of the games. What has worked out kind of cool, it wasn't planned this way, but the Discord server that we set up where lots of the players are even jumping in to help each other out, which is kind of cool. You know, somebody's looking for, hey, where do I find this guy? I need this GM for this game. Oh yeah, ping him in this channel. It's been really cool to see. It's much more of sort of that hallway outside the big game room than I really expected it to turn into. But it's neat to see. And so that's been kind of gratifying, one of those unintended positive side effects of this whole thing.
I think part of the reason is everybody misses being at a convention so much that this is the closest thing we're going to get, and it's virtual. So, hey, everyone's got that same, you know, convention cooperation attitude going where they're like, hey, man, you know, hey, which hall you need? Oh, it's right over there. Well, it's virtual now. So instead, hey, you know, you're going to help somebody out virtually. This is the link you need to go to. This is the room you need to be in or whatever. And I think it's really great. And it's the best part about it, though, is seeing how like people like you, Uva, and Academy Games have jumped on board with not only supporting the convention with prize support, but also being here and helping by showing your games. And that legitimizes the whole event itself. All of these events, Gen Con, any of the online conventions, including this one here. And we really appreciate that.
You know, this year is a little bit of an experiment, but I think it's going to be even next year, hopefully, you know, when the COVID issue has been gotten control of, I think there's still space to try to do some of these online conventions. When I was looking at our Tabletopia, the game setup, I mean, we used all of our printer-ready art. And I was looking today, and I was like, holy cow, you know, I don't know if I can share my screen, but I took a picture of some of the guys in middle of playing a game.
Should be able to share it.
And I was like, this is like one of the top level type of looking games on a computer that I've seen in a while. And what Jim did for us was just phenomenal. You know, I was blown away. I'm just trying to see if I can find find where I saved the picture. And of course, no, I can't find it.
Always works out that way, doesn't it?
Way it always is.
You know what? I used the snap snipping tool.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't save it?
Oh yeah, I did save it.
Okay. Do you know where?
Save it. The question is
where?
I have 3 hard drives, a NAS server.
Oh wow.
And everything else. Let me go File, Save As, and I'm going to see where it's going to. It's going to that's where I thought it was going to go. My backup drive. Oh, here it is. Here's the other picture.
Ta-da.
Why didn't I find it? Huh. But it's no. Don't want to take this picture. Sorry, I was not smiling nice and. But let me see if I can share a photo, because, and I've seen this with now more and more people with what they're doing online, and it does not give the same type of feel as the other games. Lass mal hier eben sehen, mach mal eben, ich gehe mal eben auf. Komm. Ja. Ich gehe mal hier eben rein. Let me see how I can share a share screen.
What he said.
Mo, kannst du das verstehen oder nicht?
Sharing works
Yes.
successfully. Good. Sharing screens is easier with 2 monitors. Really, it's easiest with 2 monitors.
Uwe, wir können dieses Interview auf Deutsch machen.
Können wir auch auf Deutsch, ja. Gut. Dann können wir jetzt so weitermachen. Aber ich will
You know, I can mute
sehen,
both of you, right?
come on. Go bigger.
Zoom.
You know, it said I took it. You know, I got cheap and did a low res shot. But I don't know if you can see the screen, but it was the full flow play and everything was like playing a computer game. And this was just put up by Jim 2 days ago. And we're playing the dice, customized dice, the cards, everything. It was a blast. So nice. I was very happy with this. And did it stop sharing? I hope so.
Yeah, you stop sharing.
So I was really happy that we're going to try to do this a little more, and I'm getting some of the guys and anybody who wants to email me. We're going to start doing, because I want to get this game done and ready to go to printer in mid-September. Anybody who wants to do any of the play testing in there, I would appreciate it, because my problem is even the first mission with what we played today, I'm getting a little, I think, too complex of tactics for the first missions, second missions. The later ones I don't care about. It's the first few. A little too heavy in details in the tactics that are needed for beginners to play, because most war games out there are really head-to-head games, you know?
Yeah.
Come and shoot each other. Whereas the 3rd edition Conflict of Heroes is much more, you're going to have to do a lot more real-time tactics with trying to get in flanking maneuvers, setting yourself up into situations where the opponent has to do something which is detrimental to their mission objectives and things like that. And, you know, here it's very simple. I just given mission orders, do a defending collapsing retreat. Easy, isn't it? Well, no, people just don't understand that the way you have to win is to slowly falling back upon yourself while holding back the enemy as long as you can, while holding your objectives, while giving up ground.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that's maybe a little too much for the first mission, but we'll find out. Because
you know, it's funny.
Screw it.
It's funny when you start talking tactics, especially like newer war gamers or people who are not really well versed in strategy or tactics like that, and then you show it to them on the map what you're doing, and then it just clicks. Because they're like, oh, it makes total sense. It's like, yes, this is what bounding is. This is why you need Overwatch. This is a delaying action, things like that. It's really not super complex, especially when you show it out on paper to them on a map with counters and the objectives out there. It really does make a lot more sense that way. And that's where another way where these games can be really great learning tools and team building exercises as well.
I agree, because even if like even officer training, you know, where you're going through, you're reading the books, you're seeing it online, you're talking about it. But when you're actually playing it, you're internalizing a lot more. And I think field exercises are great, but field exercises, you're getting just a relative situational awareness of something, and you're not looking from top down as much as how are things affecting me and how am I going to react to them. And that's where I think games like this are becoming more and more sophisticated from a learning standpoint. What we're doing with ComOps for the Marine Corps Tactical Decision, the Marine Corps Association have been using for 20 years this training method, tactical decisions games, which we now have agreement with that we're going to be doing a series of games based on those. But they're going to be more critical thinking instead of just a matrix, blue team, red team with white arbiter. And what I've said all along is that a lot of people take the training in, but when shit hits the fan, they're trained to react with just heuristic bias, just the gut feel. The gut feel. I'm trained. I'm gut felt. But my point is that leadership can be so much better if they're trained a little more the way some of the other countries do, where yes, you're trained over in the field, but you're doing so many onboard exercises, sandboxing like they used to do, that when things happen, that you've got so much information from even games, learning how to play the games and everything, that you can sit back in real situation, looking at your map, monitor, or whatever, standing back and going, I want to do this, but what else could I do? And if I do this, thinking 2 steps up, what can the enemy or opponent be doing? And how is that going to place them in the near future that could help me or be to my detriment? And I think that's so key that people get that. Also, I was talking to Adam G today, the battlefield battle rhythm and things like that you need to feel when you're out in the field, and to learn that and everything, I think is very key, especially since the Russians and the Chinese, they study what the Americans are very, very open with their military training guides. They know what our military
too open
are. They're very open in this, whereas our opponents may not be constrained by the same type of both military and political and social constraints that we are.
Yeah.
And so we have to be very aware of this, and see what our fallacies are and what our good things are, because we think America's first. But what happens when those black swan things happen? How do you get that feel? How do you get the feel of what the enemy's doing when we can't even read their alphabet, but they all speak English? Yeah. We don't understand Russian, much less read their. God, I saw a guy spell the name Gregory in Russian yesterday. What the hell? I got the O right, but everything else is like, that's a G? Why is that a G? That's my ignorance, because I don't know. So it's really exciting to see how all of our forces worldwide, both the Army, the Marine Corps, the Navy, Air Force, are really bringing in very sophisticated and good training with psychology analysis, as we're doing now with our 3rd edition Conflict of Heroes, cognitive suppression during combat, what we're doing with our ComOps series coming up, which is more company battalion level engagements, to make officers aware that when you give someone an order, what is the situation that they're in at that time, and what is the probability that they're actually going to pull through with what you said. And so it's really exciting time to be in and talk with all these great gamers. I mean, I got so much good stuff here today and yesterday.
Well, one of the things you're talking about, sort of how you react to stuff out there, and Mo, you probably saw this more than I did, because as I recall, you've actually deployed to a 2-way range, where I got to stay stateside the whole time I was on active duty. One of the things that was always preached and drilled into everybody is that idea of muscle memory. And one of the best comparisons for especially small unit tactics is actually sports stuff. You think about, my son is a total gym rat for playing soccer, and he's just got automatic muscle memory for everything he's trying to do on the field, that he sees what's on the field, and he's just reacting with muscle memory because he's drilled it into himself so much over and over and over and over. And you think about like a football team, when they call a play, they've rehearsed that play so much that muscle memory kicks in, and they don't even have to think. They just do, because they're conditioned to know exactly what steps they're supposed to take. And that kind of repetitiveness in the drills, in the training, is what can really make a difference, where you don't have to think about what to do. You just do it because the muscle memory kicks in and takes over.
It also helps you adapt better, because the thing is with sports, just like with military things, adaptation is key. Because even though you run a play in football, okay, I'm going through this hole. Well, that hole may shut down, and that running back may have to make a last second split decision and go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So they have to adapt. But by running through the play enough times and having different situations occur in practice, and even in game situations, you learn how to adapt. And it's the same when you train like this, like Uva's talking about. You see that top-down view. When you're on the field, in that ground view, you're kind of in that cone. You don't have the same situational awareness you will from the top-down perspective. So if you train both, you have the macro to micro, and it makes you better and more effective overall because you're thinking at the ground level. Okay, here I'm just concerned with this city block, but what about the guys over here 2 blocks away?
Right.
What about the guys over there? And then you kind of understand big picture at that point, and then it makes you more effective as a fighting force.
And I agree exactly what you're saying. When you start thinking a little more like that, it keeps the propensity of you going down a rabbit hole.
Yep.
Much better, because when shit's hitting the fan and you're being hit from all angles, and the emotional fear, people hitting you with questions and everything, to keep your head level and not just flippantly giving orders, but really thinking your way through is so key. Because often what people do is everything's happening and they'll put the blinders up and they'll just see one thing, concentrate on one thing, everything else goes away. And so teaching critical thinking under stress, I think, is very key. And I don't know how much of that is done. It's done on a personal level and what is directly around me. But going a few levels higher, and when things really start hitting you, everybody wants to go directly to what is in their line of sight, or what their brain is telling them is important. But you have to pull back and go, your brain is so inefficient under stress, under fatigue, under fear, that you really, it does take a very critical thought pattern training to be able to keep your mind much more open. And I've seen it happen overseas more than I have in America. I think certain branches do it much more than others. What I've seen in the Air Force, they go through much more critical thought procedures for pilots, I think, than maybe infantry or mechanized units.
You know why? You know why? Because that pilot has a $30 million aircraft that he's flying, whereas an infantry guy, he's only costs a couple, 20, 30 grand to train. He's a meat puppet, essentially, in the big scheme of things, whereas you're not just looking at the pilot, you're looking at the training that pilot has, and even more importantly is the vehicle. And that's what you need to make sure you preserve both. And if, you lose between the infantry or you lose the pilot, you don't want to have to lose either, but the infantry is cheaper.
Probably right. It's a horrible way to think of it, but
yeah.
That's the reality. That's exactly what it is. One of the challenges you run into with that wider perspective, on a map exercise on a sand table, obviously it's very easy to do, or relatively easy to do. But you talk about the field exercises and that they're only good for so much. Part of the challenge you run into, quite frankly, is just one of real estate. Most bases stateside, you have trouble finding space to put a battalion in the field at its appropriate doctrinal distances. You have even Fort Hood's probably only got 2, maybe 3 places that you can actually put a mechanized battalion out in the field, whether it's armor or infantry or the new combined arms battalions. You don't have the real estate to work with out there unless you load everybody up and take them to 29 Palms or take them to Fort Irwin. Or if it's a light unit, take them down to Fort Polk, down to JRTC. You don't have the physical space to put them out there. Fort Stewart is enormous, but so much of it is taken up by impact areas that you have a hard time putting on the ground at Fort Stewart. It's reality. Look, Fort Irwin you can fit Rhode Island inside of Fort Irwin. That's how big the place is out there. Partly because it's the middle of the desert. Nobody else wants it. I got that. But Pinion Canyon up in Colorado, you can fit a brigade on the ground in Pinion Canyon in Colorado, but only in one direction, right? It's like the long, skinny living room. Your couch is only going to fit in one way. Same thing with the Yakima Training Center. There's only so much space to actually put these guys on the ground to do that kind of training at the appropriate doctrinal spacing that we expect them to maintain. And so while it would be cool to be able to put a whole brigade in the field and stress those guys from riflemen all the way up to 06 level, we just don't have the real estate to do it realistically without loading everybody up and shipping them halfway across the country. And that's why things like, Fort Irwin and Fort Polk, the NTC and JRTC are so important. That's why they're such a big deal. But it's expensive. It's time consuming. It's a real pain in the butt. Late for the last 20 years, we've had guys that were otherwise preoccupied. It's an aspirational goal, certainly. Uwe, you're right on the mark that there's nothing that replaces it. The logistical reality is something very different. And I think that top-down view on the map with the war games really does make a difference.
That's why it's cheaper that way. You don't have to worry about getting somebody out at Stumps or at an NTC or something. But while you're playing like Conflict of Heroes in the barracks and you're working on your squad tactics, nothing's going to replace getting out there doing live fire and having live fire around you. You know,
it's like anything. You know, you have to have the soccer skills, like your son says.
Yeah.
You need the soccer skills. But then you also need to be in, if you're a football quarterback or in a soccer team or anything, studying the opponent, studying different tactical, studying how, if you have a certain type of formational attack or defense and all of a sudden the opponents are doing something different, that you have enough experience in the middle, you can then adapt to it, to what the opponents are doing in the correct way instead of the incorrect way and just staying static with what you were told to do, which is very, very critical. And, you know, another thing we're talking about from a game design and everything, just to get away from the school, because this is a very difficult subject, you know, and we're probably some of the best trained people, or are the best trained people in the world. Our main things, I think, that hurt us in the battlefield is the constraints we have, both military, political, and everything. You know, we are on a very tight constraints, and especially with internet and everything everywhere. You know, the slightest little mistake someone makes can come back to bite them in the ass, and that can stay in the minds of many people when they're in such a situation, going, God, if I do this, this could go wrong, and that could really screw us over later on. You know, or the guy comes on, the lawyers come on and say, no, you can't do that right now. You know, there may be civilians within a kilometer or something like that, a click away. So it is a very difficult situation. We're even talking today about the Soviets, and if we are ever in a confrontation with the Soviets in a situation that is a battalion, it's not like Afghanistan, very small unit, or Iraq, mainly mechanized against a very inferior force, and that's not in a negative way. It was just they didn't have what we had.
Yeah.
But now you have a country that is very adept at information dissemination, information, breaking of informational lines. And one of the things we came up with today, even the little stuff that we have to be trained on what if situation. What if our communication nets is broken down? You know, that they have a disruption in a certain area.
Mm-hmm.
The Russians are just laying hard lines down so that they have hard line communication. And the only way we could ever even get orders back and forth was maybe with laser Morse code. And we were thinking, does anybody anywhere even know how to do Morse code anymore?
Now you're back to hand and arm signals and runners.
Right. And people go, why do we ever need this shit? But what do we maybe need this shit? You never know. What are the contingency plans, you know?
Yeah.
Against the Russians, because Russians scare the shit out of me. They'll never attack us. They're scared, you know, they're never going to come against America. But there could be that stupid thing that happens that you don't know, and all of a sudden you're in a situation.
Yeah, the Wagner guys show up and we start shooting back.
You have to look at the 5 domains. There's 5 domains now to warfare. It's not just air, land, sea anymore. There's space and cyber. So you have to, you know, maintain presence in both. And that's why a lot of people have been kind of laughing with the Space Force idea. You know, it does sound funny and all that stuff. And the whole, you know, space shuttle door gunner memes and all that have gone out there. That's really funny. But in actuality, warfare is multidimensional now. It's not just, you know, 3 dimensions. There's 5, you know, the 5 areas that you have to be concerned with. And with your information warfare, they're tied into space as well as everything on the ground. You have Blue Force trackers and all your vehicles and everything. That's great for expediting getting the information. But what happens if it goes down? You know, are we training properly on how to read a map, how to land nav in your vehicles with your map on the move? Are we doing that? Can our troops do that? You know,
at that point, you need to dig up all of us 40-something-year-olds, 40 mumble, right, 50-year-olds who actually know how to read a paper map, who actually know how to do battle tracking in a command post with paper maps and acetate overlays, and grease pencils and alcohol markers. That's when you've got to be able to hand and arm signals make a big difference. And that's when you need a really, really good commander's intent, and get the hell out of the way and let your subordinates go do it instead of having to. And that's one of the biggest things that, quite frankly, this goes back to 98. We were doing a warfighter exercise at Fort Leavenworth. And it was hilarious because we were down in all the battalion command cells where we were actually fighting the battle on our monitors and then reporting everything up through brigade and division channels. And somewhere in all that, the Norks started jamming communications, and somebody made the announcement across the big floor where all the battalions were spread out. And said, all right, communication jamming, nobody talk to brigade for the next 4 hours. And there was a cheer across the room. Great. Because without the brigade calling you every 30 seconds, they weren't trying to micromanage the crap out of you. Like, you could actually go do your thing. That battalion commander's got 17 years in the military, probably learned something along the way, probably has an idea what he's doing. Get out of the way and let him go do it. And I'll tell you, there's more than a few folks at my generation and shortly before me that would be thrilled to have all of the cyber eavesdropping cut and be able to just go do your damn job. I mean, that would be fantastic from a certain perspective.
If they had guys like us getting back, all we need is a walking cane and a bottle of booze, and we do really well.
That may be. Hey, listen, I've overstayed like 25 minutes beyond when I told Mo I was going to hang out with you guys. But more importantly, it's 25 minutes past when I told my wife I was hanging out with you guys. I was just supposed to come in, say hi, a big thank you to Uwe for supporting all this, and then let Mo interview you, talking, like your games and promoting your stuff. So
wait a minute. What's your wife want you to do tonight? I mean, are you going to go out to a bar drinking? Or are you going? What the hell? She's probably glad to have you out of her way.
So they've been at the beach for like 3 days while I've been here working and taking care of the dog. So this is only the second day back. Well, the first full day back for them. So the list of stuff that I haven't been doing while they've been gone isn't short. And I've been neglecting it all day because I've been streaming a lot of the seminars today. I was streaming the seminars at 10, 11, 12, and 2 and talking on one of those. So I've been tethered to the computer all day long. Today, this was just supposed to be a quick hi and bail out and let you guys talk. But
instead, you use it to hide from everybody.
Yeah.
We need someone smart in the group here. So,
So, from me and from the Dragoons, from the bottom of our heart, Uwe, thank you very much for joining us this week.
Appreciate it.
It's been awesome having you guys here and being a part of all this. And you can bet next time we're crazy enough to try to do this, you are definitely on speed dial, and looking forward to trying to do all this again sometime in the future after we recover from this one.
Super. Hey, I just want to let you know, I looked it up because I've watched half of the first season is Space Force with Steve Carell.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't watched it, it is.
Is it good?
I thought it was going to be stupid as hell.
Mm-hmm.
They have quite a big budget. I mean, Steve Carell, of course, is going to have a bigger budget, but it actually is. It's entertainment. It's actually very good. It's not stupid.
Cool.
It's actually pretty good. So
we'll add it to the next Netflix binge list. Now that hockey started up again, I think Mo and I are going to be sufficiently distracted for weeks here. But
did you see what happened in the Ranger game today? The first game of the playoffs. First thing they do, they start chucking them right away. It's like right into the fights. I was like, "Yep, hockey's back. I love it,
dude." Where do I live? What do you mean I watch it?
No, I know. That was why I wondered if you saw that first game where first thing they did right away, drop the gloves. I was like, good. They didn't take that out of the game because that was one of the big concerns. They were going to take that out.
And Slavin scoring like 30 seconds into the game. It was awesome.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. That's good stuff.
Guys, y'all have a good evening. And Mo, I'll see you again to say hi to Dave here in a couple hours. But Uwe, thanks. Good night. Y'all have a great time. And I'm out of here.
Give your best to your wife and tell her you're heading out with the boys tomorrow night for
party.
Great.
All right. So now let's talk about all these events that we've kind of got sidetracked into real world tactics and all that stuff. Let's talk about some of the events that you've been running. We'll bring it back to games. You've been running events at Gen Con as well as here with the virtual Dragoons, the virtual assembly. Talk about some of the games you've played the past couple of days and, big things big words back that you've gotten from the people who've checked out the new games. Cause I know you got a new one, 1940.
Yeah, the France 1940 is what Pavlos Yermides has been working on, and now I'm going through with all the missions and making sure everything is quite right, and putting the prep ords in place, and then after action reports, trying to bring a little more thought and analysis into it than our old Conflict of Heroes. And this next Conflict of Heroes game is also going to have 2 separate mission books. So we have this is the German mission book, and then the Allied one, and each side has a different setup and everything, with mission orders and what they see that the enemy has, and their recon information that they're getting back and seeing on the map. There's a pre-setup, and then the actual setup is different than may actually be out there, because you know, you've got some French units coming up. The first one we were playing today is during when France invaded Germany in 1939, right after they invaded Poland. And the Germans are so busy on the Polish front, they just didn't have enough hardware and military might along the Western Front to hold back a sustained and determined Anglo-French attack. And there was great concern to the Germans, and here the French come over the border, and what the orders were and everything is very interesting how it played out. The whole war could have changed if the French would have worked it out a little differently, because everybody says, oh, France fell in three or so weeks and blah blah blah. Man, they had one of the biggest militaries in Europe, and they were some badass dudes, you know. It just went bad for them when Germany invaded, with better communication, a little better training, and brand new tactics that the English taught them. So it was interesting, because with these different mission books, your recon is telling you how the city is set up. And as a lot of recon is, they may over exaggerate a little by putting in what they think should be there if they were defending a city. So like in this first one, you know, you're seeing, when you're setting up for the French player, all these German units manning all these outer buildings and heavy defensive points in this village, and the Germans don't even have, you know, 2/3 of that force, and they're not really where even you think they are, because a lot of recon coming back is just bad. I see some guys going in here, that means it's a strong point, you know. So the French are setting up based on what the recon was, but the Germans are very weak, and if the French do determined attack in certain segments, boom, it's over. And the Germans can only hold on long enough, and then they have to fall back, just trying to hold the 2 control points long enough to gather enough points and then skedaddle. So it's very interesting. And with this new system, 3rd edition, it's really allowing us, with Awakening the Bear and Storm to Steel, we took the 2nd edition, made them into the 3rd edition. So it was still the same missions. With 3rd edition, which is much more fluid, because you're jumping from unit to unit or doing groups and groups and groups, we can get into much more movement and much more reaction.
It's more real time.
Yeah, because in our game, it's very difficult to hit and to damage and even make units no longer combat effective. Like in any engagement, you know, it takes tens of thousands of bullets just to wound one guy. So it isn't just get together head to head, which I just can't stand a lot of these games. Now you're going to have to be thinking a lot more of, I'm going to have to start flanking, but will my flanking maneuver make me too weak in different positions? And will my opponent be astute enough to see, whoa, he's coming flanking me, he's kicking my ass, but hey, what if I just head full force in here? It'll cut him totally off, split his forces, and give me the drop on him. So it's putting a lot more thought into this. So this game, the France 1940, is going to probably be one of the more fluid and interesting type of games, where you want to almost play every mission over and over again, because there's so many different ways the outcomes could come. And like any game, you always have to make it that can go both ways. If historically an Einheit, a force, was overwhelmed by the opponents, then how well did they extract themselves and keep their unity of force to be able then to combine with the main front and then counter. So it doesn't mean that you have to win a battle. It's how well did you extract yourself out of the battle to be able to then counter strike later on. So we're having a lot of fun with it. I'm trying to take 4 hours of every day, just shutting off the lines. And it's been a little tough with COVID because we're a few people short here in the office, and sales have just gone through the roof for board games. We're about 400.
People need things to do at home.
Pardon me?
People need things to do at home.
Yeah, exactly. And that they're ordering lots of board games is really, really good. But we're out of stock now of, I think, 4 major games that we're reprinting now like crazy, including, again, Conflict of Heroes. And then it's really exciting seeing how many other nations now we're picking up languages left and right. Conflict of Heroes now being printed in Czech, in Chinese, in Russian, where they're doing full print runs of our games.
Nice.
Which is, well, they aren't. We're doing it. Never trust these people to do the printing themselves. I'm a bigot, biased person when it comes like that, because I'm always afraid when they say, "Oh, let us print your games for us ourselves in our country, and we'll tell you exactly how many we print, and there won't be any problem." And I'm like, I'm a little biased when it comes to some of these countries. That 3,000 print run all of a sudden was overprinted. Wasn't their fault. They got 4,500. Who knew? And here's our royalties for 3,000. Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, and that's probably a wrong thing to say. And please don't get mad at my ignorant biases, but that's just my ignorant bias.
It's not a bias. That's actually, I think, kind of good business acumen. I think more than it doesn't matter what you're selling. If you're selling to another country or anything that's out of your direct line of control, there's a really big issue of trust and faith there. And if you can't have that with whoever it is you're partnering with, well, that's going to be a problem. So it's better off if you can maintain that control, which is exactly what you're doing.
I think though you should be. I really try to trust people a lot. You're right. It's just my bias. I would with some countries quicker than others, but that's just in countries that have very good and stringent property laws and asset laws.
Yeah.
So, it isn't that I'm biased for that country because what that country is. I'm just biased that I do not have a good way of taking action if someone would.
Yeah.
So
they don't have the best business practices.
What's that?
They don't have the best business practices in those countries where you don't feel the confidence level that your intellectual property is going to be protected and your business is going to be covered. And that's just smart. I agree with that.
It is a lot, but it's probably more of what we worry about than what would actually happen, but it's just the way it is. So, but I'm very excited to have them in those other languages now. So
that's awesome. That's great. Now we've got also what he said.
She was typing, doing stuff out there, and I was hearing it, so I asked her to close the door between the offices.
One small step. I'm looking forward to that one being a space nerd. I know it's not a war game, but I know there's a lot of war gamers that are also fellow space nerds. So that should be on its way now, right?
It is hitting Fort Lauderdale August 11th latest. That's nice. Next Saturday, and being shipped by Quartermaster Logistics. So it should get out very quickly. European shipments are on their way now. We are experimenting. It's been very difficult with the coronavirus and borders shutting down. It has been so expensive for us, and just the logistics and everything is very trying because we have one small step. Normally it costs me to ship a container, a 45-foot container from Shanghai to Cleveland, Ohio. Usually costs me maybe around $4,300. The The last quote I got for it was $8,600.
Wow.
90% increase, almost double the money, almost double the money, or yeah, $200 higher would have been double the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of coronavirus.
Yeah.
But then us shipping, we used to ship from VFI in China to Singapore or Japan, the orders directly. $22, $23, no problem.
Wow.
Now, $60 because they're putting a coronavirus fee on them, the companies you're importing, like Singapore and all that. So, I have customers now who are putting in orders and they're used to getting it shipped right away all over the world. And we're like, we can't do that anymore. So to save you the money, because we can't ask you to pay $60 for a $60 game,
Yeah.
$6 shipping. So we have to collect the games for like 2 weeks, all the games that come in, then ship them all together on a pallet to like Singapore, to a fulfillment house from within Singapore, and then they ship it out. And that way our cost now is only like $32. But unfortunately, these people ordered these games, 7 months ago when there was no coronavirus.
Sure.
And we said, okay, hey, your shipping cost is going to be $15. So we're taking quite a big hit with it from these countries. And it's really good that people are, they know what the situation is and they're very understanding.
Yeah.
Luckily, Europe is still pretty good, but certain countries aren't accepting games in yet on certain borders. It's crazy. And it goes depending on the country. And it changes week to week, As
Really?
coronavirus flares up, all of a sudden your games are on the road and they go, well, we're closing our border. And they come back. So we had to pay the shipping out and back again, and you still don't have your game. So it's a pretty trying time internationally. So right now we've cut off on our website. You try to get some of our games to some countries that we used to never have any problem with. No, we cut them all off. Anywhere where we've had problems, gone. Try to get our games in Chile or Brazil. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
Unless a Brazilian company imports them in. So, it's been very difficult. So much of my day is being taken up doing that, with everybody emailing like crazy, and we're people short that you can't bring new people in training with the coronavirus going on right now. So it's been a real challenge from that standpoint. On the other hand, I am taking 4 hours a day where I'm just concentrating on the individual games and really Gunta and I are coming up with some, I think, what are going to be some pretty groundbreaking war games in the future. And I'm concentrating on a whole new type of way of doing solo games.
Oh, wow.
Is going to be so different than anybody's ever done.
Okay, so you can't obviously tell everything, but don't just leave it as a tease there. You got to give us a little bit more.
It's going to be no longer where it's like a solo book, where you're going through from solo mission to solo mission. Now you're going to be in a historical situation. You are commander of a battalion, or in some cases, even just a company. And you're playing a game, and as you're taking objectives, as things happen to you, you're getting information that is being from tag points in different parts of the game. You're getting information. You're getting all of a sudden orders given to you, where you're reading them out, saying, Oberst Werner, your right flank is breaking down our left battalion, our battalion on your right side. We see a big gap. You need to send people in. You've got to do it now. Bring people. We need at least these forces. Well, all of a sudden you are just planning on this, but now you have to push these forces out. After this game that you've played, depending on the objectives, you've been getting orders going forward. You've been sent new maps showing your new positions, what your orders are, and all of a sudden you just continuously playing, and every person playing this solo campaign will have a totally different experience and different flow of the game. If you finally take a city and you take in day one, what happens is totally different than if you would take it in day 3, because everything you're doing is also influenced by everything that happened around you in the real campaign historically.
Yeah.
So it's much more like you're reading a book, a story. It's just going on. It's continuously flowing game. Everything you do and decide radiates forward, kind of like what we did with Agents of Mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't understand that Agents of Mayhem, they go, oh, it's a sci-fi game, 3D fantasy game. They don't understand that was based on our Fallujah Urban Combat game. And that's about as tactical war game as it gets. But the campaign in that, unfortunately, 1%, 1 out of 99 people play the campaign because it's such an in-depth experience. What Gunther did with that is phenomenal. So you're doing this, you're getting yours, you're losing men. You yourself are going through all these different heavy, hard decisions you make that later on come back and hit you. And our players, they're getting so involved, they're getting drawn in. They say every night they can't wait to get back into it, to see like a storybook you're reading. And then all of a sudden, you take a height or you're pushed back along a riverbank, and your orders come back and say, the enemy is pushed through on our flank. You have to pull back. We lost.
Mm-hmm.
You lost the campaign.
Nice.
Or congratulations, you did it. And you were expecting that you're doing this whole thing. So boom, wow, these last 8 to 9 sessions I played, I had success.
That's
and
cool.
So we're going to be putting out these little expansion story things to play from different commanders from both sides, and using the excuse me real quick. Hey, ich bin gerade ein Interview, kann ich dich gleich wieder zurück anrufen? Okay, spielt ihr immer noch bei Gen Con? Okay, danke. Gunther's saying they're just finishing off their Gen Con game.
Oh, nice.
So it's going to be, and it's taking a lot of time, a lot of effort, but I think this type of thing is exactly what I'm looking for to play.
Yeah, I love the sound of it already, because it's like you've got that branching progression. It's not the linear gameplay we're so used to, where you've got scenario A, then scenario B. Hey, you can make a campaign by stringing together a couple of scenarios. Well, I want to have persistence, and I want to have this is my company. And now I'm being, like you said, after this engagement here, I took some losses. Well, guess what? I got to chop a platoon over here because they've got to go over to this location to fortify it or whatever. Now I'm down to 3 companies instead of 4 companies. And now I've also got to deal with replacements. If I can get some out of a replacement pool, all that stuff really makes for a much better experience rather than just pushing counters around.
You lost this one, so you go to this one, then it's reprogrammed. Everything is totally unique to every decision, every advantage you gained, every loss you took. It all ripples forward differently. It's very different. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I think that's going to be very, very good, successful. And also the AI we're working with, we're making more and more advancements with our AI. Our AI is getting quite sophisticated, even the board game, because the AI that we're working for our newest Conflict of Heroes video games is based on our board game AI. And the AI that we've come up that's in development now even puts our old AI to shame. I mean, even the way it's presented and everything, much more visual. So it's going to be interesting, and we're going to have different type of commander packs coming out, where you can have our standard one now is standard army type of officer type of delta curve of how they will make decisions. This is probably the main thing they decide, but they could be doing all these other ones. So you can never predict what the AI is going to do. But now we're trying to do the AI several steps ahead. So if the AI isn't looking at what is my situational awareness and how do I want to respond, they instead turn around and go, what's the situational awareness of my enemy? What do I want them to do so I can take advantage of it? For me to get them to do that, I have to do this. So we're actually making the AI think 2 steps ahead. So I think that's going to be when players are playing, they're going to see the AI do stuff. They're going, what the hell? I'm going to take advantage of it and get suckered into some traps. So we're really making some good progress and having a lot of fun. We don't put out many games like some of the other companies, But our advantage is that we sell a lot of games. I mean,
Mhm.
our Storms of Steel, when it was released in February, sold out in 2 days through distribution.
Wow.
We didn't reprint many more. We just printed 3,000 more, and those 3,000 sold out in a month. So our
Nice.
whole print run plus the next print one sold out, in about 5 weeks. Our Awakening the Bear, we sold 54,000 copies of that that wonderful game.
It's a stupid game. No one wants to talk about it.
I don't have to buy the old flip phones anymore.
Yeah.
But I have to say, mine's all cracked and everything from dropping at places, and I put fake screens over it to make them at least where I don't cut myself on the glass. I'm too cheap to, if it still works, why get a new one?
That's true. Well, I did. Speaking of games, you have a game to give away. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes. I just wanted to, I got off with our one small step that we're going to be shipping as of April. August 11th. We shipped them in April. Those of you who haven't gotten it, sorry. But it is where you're playing either the Soviet or the American space agencies.
Mm-hmm.
And you're playing with two players. One controls the engineering aspect, and the other the administrative. Because one of the worst parts, one of the major reasons that the Russians did not win the space race was because of internal friction and internal different struggles of different departments. And we had the same problem here in America. Not quite as bad, but this is representing the game between the administrative and the engineering sections, and you're each trying to help for the same goal. But to do that perfect engineering thing that you need to get the control systems for manned flights going, take too much money away maybe from what the administrators want. By you doing that, blocks them from doing stuff, and they're like, damn you, or the administrators do something that help you, but also the Russians.
Yeah.
So, and vice versa. And we do it very neutrally, because what the Russians did was also exemplary. I mean, what they've done in their space program, we need to give credit to, because they did as much for the development of the space program as we did. And so, again, we keep it very neutral, like every game. It's not the bad guys, the good guys. Who's the bad guy, good guy? We're all humans trying to get to space. So it's like good competitors in business. And don't get me wrong, of course, the Russians have their own agendas and we have ours. But in a game, you try to give it neutrally so you see what each side is doing.
Yeah.
And so that's shipping here pretty soon, and it is a phenomenal game. It's by James Dumont, came to us, and then he with Gunta and Jim Gunta Eickert, my son, and then Jim Schoch, who is upstairs, one of our big project managers, done several of his own games, very good game designer. What they came up with is just mind-boggling.
That's fantastic, and I'm looking forward to getting that one on the table for sure.
So what we're giving away here at the show, which game was it that we said? I forgot.
I think it was the entire Academy Games catalog.
Oh yeah, we give as many catalogs away as you want. Yeah.
Storms of Steel.
You'll get five Academy Games catalogs. Have fun.
There you go. Exactly. And a pen. No, you get the little the LOS thing. Yeah. No, I think it was you were saying is Storms of Steel, if that was possible, or if not, then it was going to be
like the Vikings game. Yeah.
Yes, if not, it would be the
newest game in Conflict of Heroes.
Okay.
And then you have a picture of it behind you, which is Slugfest of Panza. It is different than, and this is a third edition. The first one of Storm Steel that we published way back 8 years ago and only did one print run of, that was the second edition. Yeah. And we took the second edition, just tore all the missions apart, rebuilt them, got rid of a lot of them, put new ones in, and really tightened it up. And it is much tougher than it used to be from the standpoint of tactics, because the new system allows so much more movement. It's no longer where one unit takes so many action points and you always have to use it. Now it's fully open. And the rules are where now it's almost forcing you to look at the overall battlefield.
Yeah. Maneuver is big. Maneuver is very huge. It shows how fluid combat really is at the tactical level. And I think that's really great.
So that was a biggie. So yeah, so we're going to give whoever wins the Storm Seal. But if you already have it and you don't have the Vikings, we'll send you a Vikings game. And if you don't have the Vikings, or you already have the Vikings also, just give us a call and we'll take care of it somehow.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to roll 2d10s, and we've got a tens die, and I've got a singles die, and it's going to be pick a number from 0 to 99, and I will roll the dice, and we will select a winner closest, either the one who hits it on the nose or the closest up or down, either way. And the only caveat here is two things, like we were doing last night, is number one, you must be a participant of the convention, a registered participant of the convention to win the game. And the other is that you need to be, unfortunately, in the United States, as Uwe was saying, how difficult it is shipping outside the United States right now. For ease for everybody right now, we're keeping it only to the continental United States, or to the United States. So make sure that you fit those two criteria. If you do, then let's see nothing but numbers in the chat here for the next few seconds. So everybody put numbers in now. Go. So we'll see who starts getting their numbers in, and then we'll call it, and then I will roll the die, and we will select a winner. And then, do you have any other events tonight, Uwe?
Damn it. I didn't have the comments on. Look at all, hey guys. Wow.
Uwe just now paying attention that there's
Undead
comments.
Vikings. Damn.
Yeah, Lance was in here. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, no enemies. Ducci was even here. Hey, Ducci. I don't know if he's even here anymore. Look at that. Uwe Bech. Another Uwe. Oh, my goodness.
There can be only one.
You know, it's so funny. When Uwe's a very common name in Germany. When we moved to Venezuela and Puerto Rico, where only Spanish is spoken, Uwe means grape, uva, you know. And so everybody called me every fruit in the book. It was horrible. And then I come to America and people call it you know, female sheep.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But here in Fremont, when we first came here, there were two other Uvas in Little Fremont, Ohio. I mean, nice. I felt so at home, you know. I felt so at home. So, oh, look at all those numbers coming up.
So we've got a couple so far. I'm going to give it another 30 seconds, so that way anybody who is maybe not paying attention, getting it
right. Yes,
there you go. Because I know you guys have been waiting all night for us to get to the game giveaway. So I want to make sure everybody gets their chance. What's that?
The important part.
The important part. So I want to make sure everybody gets a chance here to get their numbers in. We're going to go in another 10 seconds. So get your numbers in now. And I will roll the dice, and we will pick a winner. And do you have other events tonight, though, Uwe?
Yes, I do. I'm going to be watching The Americans.
Oh.
I've never watched it before. I hear it's pretty good. So that's going to be my event with my wife. Is it any good, Americans?
Yeah. It's really good. Yeah, it's a fantastic show. And I have to say this. It has one of the most, I think it's one, to me, it's one of the most satisfying endings of a series. That, you know, because so many times you see a thing, you're like, great. And then you get to the series finale and you're like, well, that sucked, or that was kind of weak. No, this one you really feel a complete satisfaction at the end of it. And I was like, wow, it really does wrap up the story, which is great. So, okay.
I'm watching Designated Survivor, which was very good also.
There you go. That's another one.
Ooh, like Kiefer.
No more numbers. We're done with numbers. So anybody that was putting in their numbers.
Hello, Marcos. Yes.
We're not accepting any more numbers after Marcus's.
Marcos.
All right. So we've got. Got some numbers.
Damn foreigners, don't trust them. No shit.
Wow. This is great. This is great. Okay. Let's see. Who's the closest to number 99?
You rolled a 9 and a 9.
9 and a 9. I thought it was a 6 and a 9.
99.
I did on this, a 99. Wow. So probably never roll one of those ever again if I needed to roll 99, if it was like a percentile thing. But 99, whoever's close to 99, and that looks like Emery Gallant.
So Emery, is that a real name or is that your stage name?
Emery, is that your stage name?
I'm on season 2 of Designated Survivor. Season 3 gets much better. It's really good. Oh, I love the ending. The politics is great. They have a lot of agendas they're trying to get, but it's phenomenally good.
Yeah.
So Emery, is that your stage name? Oh yeah, there he is. Got a picture. Real name. Nice. Nice meeting you.
Nice.
That
So
is a after Civil War cavalry hat. 1880s, 1890s.
or Vietnam. Air Cav.
I can't see it. That I have a small little. Yeah, but doesn't it have two swords crossed on it or not?
Looks like it. It's kind of hard to tell. He says he met you at Origins.
Congratulations, Emery. Do you have Storms of Steel? We'll ship you a game of Storms of Steel. If you already have it, we can ship you a game of Vikings. Which one do you want? Oh, 11th Cav. Good. Type with 3 fingers so we know which game you want. It would not be a real convention without a conversation with you.
This is true.
Hopefully, it wasn't to you know what? This entire time, the messages come right under our pictures, right? I'm so intent on looking at your face. I never even saw this wording coming up. So
he says Storm. So he wants a copy of Storms of Steel.
Super.
And want me to? Well, I'll just have him send an email into Brant.
Yeah,
or send it to you.
For the whole world to see here, Emery. No, I'm kidding.
No.
Don't send Mo your. Go for it, Mo.
Yeah, I'll just say send in to an email to Brant or just contact me in Discord. Either way, and we will get your information. I will get that over to Uwe, and he will get you a copy of Storms of Steel, and have a good time with it because it is a damn fun game. And keep track of all of the games from Academy that are coming out soon. We've got, like we said, we've got One Small Step that's coming out, and then Uwe had teased the Solitaire, the new Solitaire thing, which really has me intrigued. And it's a shame it's not at a real convention here right now, because if it was, I'd be like, let's go over here, man. I got a bottle of whiskey, and we'd sit down and we'd just talk and we'd have some fun.
We have also our Reality Shift coming out. It is a 3D racer game where you have all the 3D cubes. And you're racing, but on your turn, it's like Tron Legacy, the Tron movie. You've got your racers, and on your turn, you can either move twice or move once, do a reality shift. And when you're reality shifting, let's say I'm over here, everything magnetic 3D, you can reality shift, crush your opponents.
Oh, nice.
Out, and then going for the finish line. It is a hoot. This is going to be the first game in a series of these. The next game is a 3-dimensional war game, space game. So we've got some really cool, off-the-wall, thought-wise games coming up.
When's that coming out? That one sounds really trippy.
Everything is being done. We have we have some demos going out. Going to send one. Have to still talk Tom Vasso to the guys at Jim knows where we're sending them to get videos.
Dice Tower and
all. But we're trying to get the videos are being done by next week, and then we're going to be doing Kickstarter very soon. But it's already being manufactured. We're going more and more where manufacturing starts way before, so that when the Kickstarter's over, we can get those games out really quickly.
That's nice. And Emery has one thing he wants you to do. See if you get it signed. Outstanding.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm going to cut it here, cut the show here, because I don't want to hold you up all night. I know you want to go catch the Americans. You've been working your butt off for the past couple of days.
David Heath, just bring him on. Come on, David.
Oh, he's not for another hour. He's not for another hour. Yeah, there's a little break.
He goes to sleep, though, at 5 in the afternoon.
No, he goes to sleep at like 5 in the morning, and he's up at like 7 or 8. You know him. He's
David shit. So
I'll give you the link if you want to jump in during his time.
Bring it on.
That would be fun.
David is such a good guy. David is one of those guys who, and I've got to say this privately because I don't want to say it to the world, but he's so much smarter than he looks. And so you look at the guy and you meet him, you go, wow, this is just a mob muscle guy, and then he starts speaking and he's just the sweetest, nicest guy. So that's just between us. I wouldn't ever want him to hear that, because he'll come and just next time I see me, he'll probably give me a big kiss and say, "You're right."
He's a big teddy bear. He's a great guy, but so are you, Uwe, as well. I mean, we're very fortunate in this hobby to have so many great people in it. That is just, it makes it such a really fun, welcoming place, and we really appreciate all that you do and all that Gunter does as well for the hobby and for the different games that you guys put out and the different pieces of history that you're able to share with everybody and educate people on. It's fantastic.
But you have to take a pat on your back too, because if it weren't for people like you, where would we be to tell people? It's guys like you who put all this time and effort into it. And I know you guys make a lot of money doing it, but still, you could be real jerks about it. Just, flaunt off your girlfriend, your yachts and all, but you don't. You have to keep it down to earth. So I do appreciate that.
It's something we do work at. We got to keep it on the down low. Otherwise, everybody would want to get into content creation, game reviewing, things like that. When they realize that, you make $11 billion a year, there's so much money in it and fame and fortune. Not a damn thing. If anything, you get more bills. You spend a lot more money, but really do appreciate you taking the time tonight to come on, Uwe, and everything you've done for the hobby, everything you did for Gen Con, as well as for our convention here at the Virtual Dragoons Assembly. And we will get you on Whiskey Charlie again very soon to talk about some other new games and just to have you on for general chat. And but I really appreciate it. Go watch The Americans. Everybody stop by tonight. We really appreciate you doing so, and we will see you in the next show in another hour with David Heath. Good night, everybody.